All right, let's talk about the grip. The grip of the golf club is without a doubt the single most important element of the golf swing, especially for a new player. You want to learn to grip the club correctly. Um, this is your only point of interaction with the club. It is directly responsible for how the club face works through impact, through the swing, how our wrists interact. It's also how the club face interacts. Is this face closing? Is it staying open? Can we actually feel that with our hands? All those things are directly related to the grip, how we hold the club. So there's really only one true golf grip. Within that grip, there's variations. So I'm going to go over those in sort of two parts. Controlling the club face, and so controlling the club face and maybe how tight your hands are. So controlling the club face, if this is neutral, this face is neutral, it's square. There's a target over here. This is pointing right at my target. If I take my hands and I get the club face to close down more, this is called strengthening the grip. So now my club face is more shut to my target. I have to lean forward to square it. This is more shut to my target. This is known as a strong grip. I have strengthened the grip. So that is my palm, my trail hand palm facing towards you. If I do the opposite, and I take my trail hand palm and it now points towards the club, points away from you, and I match that with my lead hand. Now the club face wants to be more open. I can close this club face by leaning the shaft back, but this club face wants to be more open in general. You can have a strong grip, you can have a weak grip. There's plenty of examples of players on tour who've done either and have had a lot of success. I would say modern players, they're leaning more towards a strong grip. But that does not mean the game is moving that way. Personally, I think it's best to have a neutral grip especially for a beginner player. If you want to modify your swing from there, you should understand how manipulating the club face can manipulate your shots or just your feelings in general for what it feels like when you hit the ball. But for starters, you're best off learning the neutral grip. So that's this shaft is square and this club face is pointing exactly to where my target would be. Okay, so that's controlling the club face. Second part of as far as variations go are how these fingers work when we look at the bottom of the shaft. So behind here, what my fingers are doing. The most common grip by far and the most stable would be the interlock. So I've taken my lead hand, index finger, and my trail hand, pinky finger. I've interlocked them. This is just stable. Golfers, regardless of age or skill level or years of experience, this club travels fast relative to the player. So because of that, you want to have a really stable, firm, we're not strangling the club, but a firm grip on the club so that we can control the club face. So interlocking is far and away the most common. It's what I would recommend for any player. A variation of the interlock would be the overlap. You can overlap with your index finger of your lead hand over your trail hand. So I take my lead hand, index finger, and I put it over top of my trail hand. Very similar to the interlock. This would tend to be for players with larger hands potentially, and this is just holding the club face with a little bit more pressure from this finger, but maybe it's because this feels uncomfortable. Change from there would be the baseball grip. So there's no connection between these hands. There's not a literal space here, but these hands just aren't interacting with each other. I would never prescribe this grip. I don't know of any tour players who do this. I'm sure you can find an example somewhere for anything, but I don't know of anyone on tour who swings the baseball grip. It's just not stable. This club face moves way too much. It's not very controlled. This would be for people who have very, very large hands, but frankly, it's just not a good way to grip the club. So I would recommend interlocking. To me, this is just the most stable. For a newer player, this might feel awkward, it might feel a little bit tight, but in the long run, it's going to feel very, very controlled. Okay, so those are the variations of the grip. From an orientation standpoint, so if I have my target this way, this hand would be my lead hand. This side further from the target is my trail hand. We're going to focus on the lead hand first. Okay, so to grip with the lead hand, I like to tell people you grip between your index finger and the bottom of your heel pad. There's like a little bump here in your heel pad. So we're gonna get that club face so it's nice and square. We're gonna grip it with the index finger and my heel pad. Before I close, you can just see I'm holding this. And I can literally hold the club with just these two things. This is stable. I can move around. I can't really swing like this, but I have a firm enough grip that I can hold the club face stable through here. Okay. From there, I just close my hand. Now there's some maybe readjustment, but what's important here is my heel pad is on top of the club. This bottom part of my hand, this is on top of the shaft. And you can see in my wrist here, there's this little sort of groove in my wrist. That should sit, and you should see the same in your own wrist, that should sit on the right side of the club, or closer to the trail side of the club. It's relative if you're lefty. So this, including my thumb, sits on my trail side of the club shaft. It's not over here. I'm not over here. Because my heel pad sits on top of the club, it's gonna put my thumb and this little divot in between my thumb and my wrist on the trail side of the shaft. So I can hold like this. Okay. The other way you could grip it with your fingers, so it's the same result, but this is a different approach. It's just what feels comfortable for you. Is you can actually take these three fingers, so these three, not the index finger. We're gonna take these three, and we're gonna grip it between these three and the heel pad. We can hold this, obviously. You can hold this stable. Just want to close down the grip. And it's the same result. So that same result, we see this little angle here in my wrist. My thumb and this little groove are on the right side of the club. Okay, that is your lead hand. That is your lead hand. For the trail hand, on the trail hand, there's this lifeline right here. This line right here underneath my thumb. The pad of my thumb, there's this line right here in your hands. This line will touch the side of my lead hand thumb. So the side, it'll go right here. So it would look like this. Okay, and I would close that down. Okay, so if we do that with the club, we go back to our grip. I have my thumb on this side. I'm gonna take my trail hand, take this little line here, put it on the side of my thumb, and close down. This is exactly what I want for the golf grip. The other thing you'll notice is the orientation of my index finger and my thumb in reference to each other. On both hands, my index finger should be the one that's further down the shaft. My index finger is farther this way than my thumb is. My thumb isn't farther than my index finger is further than my thumb. They can also be the same length, and that's fine. They can be right next to each other, but your thumb should never outrace your index finger. Your index finger should always be as far or further. And that's true of both hands. We can see on this hand, these are about the same distance. If I put it on my trail hand, they're about the same distance. The reason for that is controlling the club face happens between this part of my index finger and the tip of my thumb. I pinch the shaft right here. This is gonna give me a feel for where that club face is. I can keep it stable through impact. I'm essentially pinching the shaft to hold it in a spot, so my club face is stable within my fingers. Now, the way I would manipulate the club face, so if I take my grip, I'm pinching the shaft to keep this stable. I manipulate the club face through my wrists. It's my wrists that are opening and closing the club face. I want my fingers hold that club face nice and steady. So that in essence is the golf grip. The grip, it's such a cornerstone of the golf swing. If you want the club to work properly, the club is very much a tool. It is a tool that you have to wield properly, and if you're not holding the club properly, you're not really setting yourself up for success. That being said, if you have questions on any of the nuance of the things, with specific to the hand or maybe feelings or checkpoints, feel free to text or call me. But in general, that's the grip.